Hey everybody, welcome to the Authors and Editors vlog. I am Kristen Iris, and I want to talk a little bit today about the availability of information on the how-to side and what I hope to accomplish with this blog, and also I want to move forward into a challenge for you guys today. First of all, there is just a ton of information out there about how to do things in publishing. If you want to know how to write a query letter, you can pull that up, and there's tips and tricks and all of that stuff. They give you some basic guidelines. You know, how to publish a book. You can go and figure out how to set up an account with Amazon to get your book published. You can figure out all those things on your own. Now, if you've been around me long enough, you know that I will tell you that there are very good reasons that you might want to avoid the DIY model. And that is why I really want to focus on why to do something. When I talk to clients and prospective clients, many of them come to me and I ask them what their goals are, what their plans are, that type of thing. And most of them, one of the first questions that I ask, because all of the decisions made before that or leading up to that really are predicated on that one final goal. And that is, what publishing model are you planning to use? And that is, do you aspire to be traditionally published? Are you thinking about an indie press, some kind of a hybrid partner publishing model, self-publishing, going through a book coach and someone who it's their business to help you through and set up some of those things so you don't have to do it on your own and recreate the wheel? Or are you planning on self-publishing where you're going to do the entire thing? And then the questions that I ask after that are dependent on that. And one of the things is, what are your goals? What's your end game here? What do you want to accomplish? Oftentimes, the idea that the author had about which publishing model they wanted to pursue doesn't really match their long-term goals or what might be in their best interest financially and career-wise. Not going to get into the weeds about that today. My point in that is that oftentimes, or lately I should say, and lately being the entire time that I've been doing this, the several years that I've been in this industry, I see post after post after post on social media from authors who aspire to be traditionally published, who are complaining about how hard it is to get their manuscripts noticed. Often their comments are derogatory toward the industry. And I'm going to take a side note here because that's a stupid thing to do. If you want to get into an industry and you want to get noticed, you want to get noticed for the right reasons. And you should know that if your manuscript or something in your query letter perks up, the ears of the agent or the acquisition editor or the publisher, whomever that thing is in front of, and they think, oh, this is interesting, one of the first things they're going to do is go check you out on social media. And if your comments are derogatory and negative toward the industry that you're trying to get into, you're a liability. It demonstrates a bad attitude, a lack of understanding of the process, and just in general a liability, because the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And in today's industry, today's economic landscape, the author is responsible for much of the marketing of their book. And if an author is out there being negative and not really promoting their book, and I'm not saying that everything has to be wonderful and all that. No, there's being authentic, but there's also being abrasive and knowing, don't bite the hand that feeds you, kind of a thing. And is your ideal audience going to be attracted to that kind of thing? Probably not. They don't want to know how hard it was for you to go through the process. That's something that, like most things in life, we just have to gut some things out, and that's why we have business coaches and friends and family. We can vent to them, but then when we step up, we put our game faces on and we act like professionals. So first of all, if you're out there saying negative things about agents snarky comments about them being gatekeepers and snobs and all this stuff, stop it. And then secondly, I want to try to help you to understand why some of these things happen, and more importantly, how you can improve your chances of getting noticed. So the first thing is, I'm not going to rehash some of the stuff I've gone over in other videos. So I recommend that after you watch this, or maybe take a break, go watch the other video and then come back to this. But in my February 1st video on this vlog, I talked about the emotional discipline required for authors who aspire to be traditionally published. And the first part you won't care about in the context of this, but jump to 6 minutes and 18 seconds, and I'm going to talk to you about the stack of books that I had stacked up on my desk as a visual for you. So check that out at some point and get the context for why agents are slow to respond sometimes, and what matters to them, just that kind of financial framework, okay? All right, now, keeping that knowledge in mind, I want to talk to you about another thing that I've seen when I see these snarky comments and talk to authors in person about their frustrations in the industry and getting noticed. Keeping in mind the idea of the slush pile. So there are two types of authors for the purposes of this. Okay, there are those authors who this is their first book, this is their first foray into the industry, and they are slush pile authors. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but you just need to understand where you fit and your place in the industry, right? We don't graduate from college and automatically get a CEO position in a company, right? No, we start at some lower level position and we work our way up. So if you're a brand new author and you have no connections in the industry, you are a slush pile author. No problem, right? Lots of people get discovered in the slush pile. So again, not a derogatory term, it's just a thing, okay? But as I hope you'll see in that other video, you have a mountain to climb. So we want to do everything we can to get noticed straight away and distinguish ourselves from the rest of the slush pile. Because many authors take have the idea that because if they are traditionally published, the publishing company is going to create the cover, they're going to do editing, do all that stuff. The honest truth is that there are many writers out there who just throw crap up and they see if it'll stick. And their backup plan is like, well, if that doesn't work, I'll self-publish it eventually, right? I could go on about that for a while. I'll leave that rant for another day. But unfortunately, literary agents and acquisition editors, occasionally depending on how they do things in their company, they still have to weed through all those people, which takes time. So your query letter, the upfront package that you present, your online presence and persona, your brand is what I'm saying, your platform, all of those external things really matter and can set you apart at this stage. So what I'm proposing is, well, let me back up a second. So another thing is that oftentimes, in fact, I cannot think of a single instance, no, I can think of one instance where somebody that I looked into was an accomplished author with a lot of education and writing chops, but was not getting the attention that the feeling was that was deserved. So it does happen, but again, that is for business reasons there are many things that are beyond our control and that we can't know about the decision-making process. But 99% of the other people that I've checked out that are frustrated in this system either have no website, or when I go to the website and look at their educational background, they do not have a degree in English or literature. They don't have a master's degree, they don't have a master's degree, and they don't even have a bachelor's degree in literature, creative writing, English of any sort. And they do not have a list of publications where they have been previously published. and no indication that would allow someone, without digging completely in and spending a lot of time, to see that their work has been vetted. And so if you just think about this from a practical level, getting a 4-year degree in anything, you know that C's get degrees thing? It's true, right? And why is that? Why do businesses want to see that someone has gotten a degree? All it means is that that person can gut it out for 4 years, do what they're told, and that it, on some level, I know we could argue this for a long time, but on some level, they can be a team player, they know how to follow the rules, they understand how systems work, and they can operate within those systems adequately, right? So that is a checkbox that employers and different people use to do that first level weed out, right? So I'm going to help you get through that first level weed out. If you are new to this industry and you do not have a writing if you don't have an education in writing and a background in writing, here's how you can take the first step to stand out from everyone else in the slush pile and separate yourself from those people who are just throwing junk out there to see what sticks and wasting agents' time that they could better be spending on you and your awesome work. All right, so I'm a big believer in being published by publications that exercise editorial discretion. It's a mouthful, but it just means that your work in short form has been published by some place that will say yes or no. So if your blog doesn't count, your friend's blog doesn't count, only places that have a business and a brand interest in only putting forward excellent writing. So this is your foot in the door, and this also goes to that emotional discipline thing. I recently read a post where somebody was upset about this kind of thing, and after checking them out, the first thing that came to me, I just kind of had to chuckle, is they've been in this industry for 5 minutes. Why are they so jaded, right? I couldn't see where they had done any kind of actual submitting to any magazines or agents or anything like that, okay? So if you've been in the industry for 5 minutes, try this and see if it helps. Now, I recommend starting local. Write a short piece that, or look at magazines in your area. They could be, here's one. So this is Eagle magazine. I live in Boise, Idaho. Eagle is a suburb of Boise. We have a nice little publication here, and our area has many. These are great because they're always looking for writers, and it's an easier foot in the door, okay? So check out, and also these are often free at restaurants and things like that. So just start gathering these things up, reading them, see what kind of things they publish, how long they are. I'm not going to go into how you research and all that. You can figure that out. But check this out and then decide which one you want to do. So here's Eagle magazine. Oops. Here's Eagle magazine. Like I said, the Boise area has a lot of them. Another one is Idaho magazine. This is a nationally recognized, award-winning magazine. It's really great, creative nonfiction. Your state or area may have something like this too. Okay, I'm mentioning these first because these are more local, and so if you look at that, you're more likely to get your foot in the door. Another one that I just heard about in the Northwest is Territory magazine. Catamaran, very nice, beautiful magazine, literary magazine. Of course, The Sun, if you have been in the industry more than 5 minutes, and especially if you like prose and literary stuff, you know about The Sun. All right, something a little more accessible. By the way, The Sun you will not get into if you have not published in other publications. It's arguably top tier, but if you get into The Sun, that's fabulous. Okay, here's another one, Bitch magazine. This one is a feminist magazine, and it's more pop culture. So if that's more your thing, great. check this one out and submit to that. One of my personal favorites is creative nonfiction. And again, this is a top tier type of a magazine as well. But my point is that these are some hard copies that I have and subscribe to. Please subscribe to literary magazines in your genre, whatever it is in your genre. Subscribe to those things and support those things. And then you'll also know the types of writing that they're looking for. Okay, there are just a bazillion online literary type of magazines. Writer's Bone, oh goodness, Blunderbuss, I could go on for days about those. So do some research, submit to those. But if they exercise editorial discretion, that is, if you could get a rejection slip in the mail, then that's where you want to go. And just keep doing it and develop a thick skin about rejection and learn from every rejection. I've had pieces where I've gotten a rejection back, and even if there's no feedback, that's still feedback, because it's like, okay, well, something about this wasn't right. And that causes me to go back into that magazine and think even harder and more critically about what was it about my thing? Like, you know, in the Highlights magazine or those different things, Sesame Street, one of these things is not like the other. You know, lay those things side by side and be like, okay, my piece had this, the majority of these pieces don't have that, and vice versa. All those things will help you. So you really have to be a student of what is out there. Is that going to automatically get you in the door? Nope. But what it will do is, first of all, it keeps you writing. It keeps you focused on short form, which really, if you can write short form, you have to be a better writer to write short form. Go ahead, make nasty comments in the comments box about that, because you have to be succinct and get to the point. So your writing will improve, your mental fortitude will improve, and you will stand out from the slush pile. And please, just operate with a sense of gratitude when you're on social media and putting yourself out there as someone in the public, because it is really true that it's easier to sell an author than it is to sell a book. That is just a mantra in the publishing industry. So if you are an author that is a wild card, and not because you're provocative and a Howard Stern type of a firebrand, if you're just a liability, then it doesn't matter how great your writing is, because it's not worth the drama and the stress and the potential liability for an agent or a publishing company. So just keep some of those things in mind. And I know it's frustrating. I get it. I've received rejection letters before, but it makes those acceptance letters so fantastic, and you'll have something to hang on your wall and to show people. Put it up on your website. When you get published by these things, definitely put it on your website. Mention that when you write query letters. And I am always here to support you if you have questions. If you want me to do a follow-up video on any of that stuff that I've talked about, or you have other questions, please put it in the comments bubble. I am happy to help. So your challenge is this week, subscribe to or go around your community, grab some local magazines that accept submissions from local writers, and do subscribe to a magazine or two that's in your genre, and just start to research where you might want to submit, and start forming an idea of some short piece that you could write to submit. And then after you've done that, submit it. And when you submit it, I would love to hear about that, because that is a little step forward and is something to celebrate. You're putting yourself out there, and that's awesome. I want to know about it in the comments bubble so I can acknowledge that and congratulate you. All right, guys, have an awesome week, and I am happy to be back after a little bit of a break. Take care.